Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we're going to be having a look at February's exceptional story, The Hollow Triptych. As always, before I start a new exceptional story, I encourage you to play these yourself. There are spoilers ahead. Become an exceptional friend, support Failbetter, get access to the second candle, the bigger deck, more outfits and various other bonuses. But without further ado, let's get into the story. Hollow Street, that dim and lonely passage where opportunistic pickpockets fleece honey-mazed derelicts, is barely recognisable. Loose crowds of well-dressed individuals cluster on the cobbles. A warm light spills from the open door of what you're sure was a dingy squat just last week. Granted, the pedestrians are peering around nervously, as if they might be accosted at any moment, but this is only reasonable. A painted sign propped against a lamppost names the source of the hubbub in swirling, vivid brushstrokes. The Hollow Street Gallery. Grand opening. Well, let's enter the gallery. Whatever is inside has convinced some of the city's most notorious snobs to set foot in Hollow Street. It has to be worth a look. Hollow Street did not have a gallery the last time you were here. Squats, yes. Honey dens, by the hundred. A few unsignposted fronts for various criminal enterprises. But not an art gallery. It is glaringly out of place. A commendable effort has nevertheless been made to bring a slice of the upper crust to the dregs of London. Paintings, large and small, hang from almost mouldless walls. An urchin in a dress shirt serves canapes. The gallery floor is open and crowded. It is quiet, but this is not the silence of menace that pervades other establishments of Hollow Street. It is the special, velvet quiet that accompanies aesthetic appreciation. What could attract such expensive attention to these squalid surrounds? If the surrounds are shabby, the work itself is anything but. The gallery space shimmers with hallucinatory canvases, some small as envelopes, and others large enough to fill a whole wall. Vibrant, oceanic whirls of paint sketch unnatural landscapes. Do these depict real places? It is getting difficult to get a good look past all the shoulders and hats. Well, we have a few options here. Let's appreciate the artwork. Shoulder past the assembled aesthetes to get yourself an eyeful. Kaleidoscope coils of thick impasto sketch forms familiar and strange. Are those dark shapes above the vast dome of St. Fiacre's stalactites? Or teeth? Is that carmine smudge rising from the jungle canopy an errant brushstroke, or one of the bazaar's lofty spires? Each work is a different, impossible dreamscape, and each is unmistakably the work of the same hand. The entire exhibition is the work of a single artist, and one of singular talent. As you make a circuit of the gallery, something deep and familiar awakens within you, as if you have seen these places before, as if the painter has captured a shared and forgotten secret. Sometimes the careless, imperfect swirls seem to shift out of the corner of your eye. An optical illusion? Like a phantasma or hideous dream? Oh, what are we getting ourselves into? Let's cast your eyes over the other attendees. Even the most prestigious of Elderwick Salon has difficulty drawing in such illustrious and varied crowds. The usual crowds of dilettantes and socialites that plague fashionable galleries are absent. No hobs are being knobbed, no hands shaken, no introductions made. It seems to be that most rare of shows, one in which the focus is completely and utterly upon the art. You recognise some faces in the crowd, mainly artists from court, the critic from the Gazette, over there the proud eyes and discreet fashions, are the invisible tastemakers that lead society by the nose. A number of immaculate footmen carry cats around at chest height so that they might peer down feline noses to appreciate the canvas. And is that man wearing stage makeup? Do we seek out the Recondite Painter? His name is unfamiliar. Nevertheless, the crowd around him portrays his status as the progenitor of this hall of marvels. In the grand tradition of eccentric artists everywhere, the Recondite Painter's dress does not match the formality of the occasion. Splotches of paint mar his faded smoking jacket. His hair is tousled and refuses to stay out of his face. Wild eyes roam in dark sockets. It is clear he has not shaved in weeks. And yet, his manner is anything but distracted. He greets every attendee with desperate gratitude. He drinks in the details of people's faces and receives each morsel of admiration like a starving man. It is only a matter of time before he comes round to you. Let's get his attention. A comment on his work should do it. Something well-informed but not fawning, to set you apart from the crowd. "You're too kind." You did not exactly frame your words as a compliment, but his voice is loud, and a number of people turn to smile at you as if you had. He clasps your hand with both of his in greeting. His grip is wiry and strong. "I have been rather an outsider to London's established traditions, I'm afraid." His eyes are on you, but he is careful to pitch his voice just loud enough to carry. "There are rather a lot of us, you know. Offbeat artists who struggle to find their audience. It is difficult to feel too strongly towards nocturnes or celestials when neither path puts food in one's mouth." Let's ask about his inspiration. That dread question is on your lips. Where do you get your ideas? "Dreams." The Recondite Painter's eyes are sincere. "They flow through us like a river. I dream of the surface. Dawn pooling over wheat fields, the stars and their ever-watching glint." For the briefest moment, the tension leaves the painter's shoulders. His anxious glances at the gallery attendees cease. But beneath, too, has its wondrous dreams. Landscapes and creatures so tinged with unreality that they can never be mixed with the surface. But in art all is possible. That's what we wanted to do, you see. Capture images of our wildest dreams and mix them with our reality. In the crowd, a haughty Russian blue hisses at a young bohemian for obscuring its view of a canvas. Many incompatibilities are mixing tonight, it seems. We ask about his sudden fame. He seems to have come out of nowhere, but judging by the attendees here tonight, his star is fast on the ascent. He lowers his eyes in mock modesty, but not before you catch his proud and hungry gaze. It's gratifying, of course, but I don't do it for the fame. It would almost ring true, were it not for his repeated glances at the assembled admirers, as though they might disappear at any moment. "I paint from the estuaries of my imagination, and count myself lucky that the right people noticed me when they did." Chuckle is dry, and descends into a brief fit of coughing. The Recondite Painter is, you realise, quite old. "It's true what they say," he addresses to the room at large. "Practice and persistence are always rewarded in the end." Let's go have a look out at the rear of the gallery then. Let's return to the gallery. Investigate the back of the gallery. A thick velvet drape cuts the rear of the gallery space off from the gathered crowds. A heavy curtain blocks the way to the back of the gallery. Every so often, the Recondite Painter breaks from his public to escort somebody important or expensive looking behind it. Invariably, they emerge a few moments later, a look of rapture plastered across their face, and leave the gallery without another word. What is the painter keeping back there that the rest of the gallery cannot see? For every well-dressed visitor admitted to the back room, 3 more are turned away. Better find out what's back there first. The artist is here somewhere, mingling with the attendees. If anyone can indulge your nosiness, he can. Yes, let's go find him again. Here we go. Inquire about the curtain at the gallery's rear. As compelling as the paintings on display are, the true movers and shakers are here to see something different. Ah! I've been caught. The painter doesn't appear chagrined at all. I'm offering previews of an unfinished work. He affects an apologetic shrug, but the sentiment doesn't reach his eyes. Crass, perhaps, but people wish to see it, perhaps even buy it. The work in question, he explains, was begun before many of the pieces displayed today. It is huge. It is the laboratory in which he developed the techniques used in many of these smaller works, and the engine for his rise to prominence. He goes on like this for quite some time, effusive with praise and enthusiasm for his unfinished masterwork. And yet, there is something in his voice. Do artists often resent their magnum opus? Yeah, so he's keeping his best works hidden. Can I go see it? The painter is offering previews of an upcoming work, his magnum opus. Surely you merit your own showing. So we have two options here. Well, actually there's four options, but I only have access to two of them. We can introduce yourself properly as a notorious figure at the Empress's court. Surely the Recondite Painter will offer a sneak peek to appear. If I also had a fine art painter, I could do this as well. You too have made a name for yourself in the representational arts. Surely the Recondite Painter will offer a sneak peek to appear. Or I could introduce myself as a journalist of note if I had a newspaper. Letting the press into his previews can only aid the painter's reputation. Well, no, we shall introduce ourselves as a notorious figure. Oh, we could also lie. I didn't read this one. Introduce yourself properly, which to say is to lie. Perhaps you lack the reputation or renown to be added to the Recondite Painter's private guest list. Perhaps you simply enjoy lying. Sir, let's introduce ourselves as a notorious figure from the Empress's court. The Recondite Painter has heard of you, of course, and is honoured to have such an illustrious fellow artist among his admirers. He has many questions about your works, namely how you persuaded the court to let you show them to the Empress, and how much you were paid for each. I have not dallied with the shuttered palace myself, he explains. I fear my work is not to their tastes. Naturally, now that he knows who you are, he'd be honoured to give you a preview of his masterwork. I mean, my next work. The darkness beyond the curtain is accentuated rather than diminished by the plaintive candlelight. A towering triptych stands in the centre of the space, covered with a throw of dark tarpaulin. The little lights cause the work's shadow to loom and shift much larger than the work itself. As I said, it's not finished. The Recondite Painter kneels to lift a corner of the tarpaulin. His face is turned away from the painting, looking instead at you. The scattered flames illuminate bright and dancing pigments. Let's look. You cannot stop yourself. Its presence is undeniable. A sideways gravity. There is nothing else to do but fall. This tiny fragment of the triptych is an ocean, and the only way not to drown is to drink. You are not sure you could blink if you wanted to. There is some vortex at work here, a snare for your attention, a great whirling mirage that occupies your entire mind. The paint is thick and ridged, the strokes tracing sinuous whirls across a surface that is not canvas nor wood, but something silvered and cavernous. Tiny glints of reflected fire twinkle behind the paint like distant stars. Some far-off, rational part of you is aware that the work is a simple landscape, a many-hued sea of curls and gyres. But that voice is quiet. You have found yourself in these spirals reflected back at you. echoes of your deepest heart, your forgotten loves, your ambitions underneath. Sentiments you believed unique to your being are echoed back to you in paint, as if the painter has hollowed you out and displayed you on the canvas. Is it like this for everybody? How can it be? You need to see more. You need to see the rest. You do not notice when the Recondite Painter lets the tarpaulin fall to cover the triptych once more. You barely remember shaking his hand or leaving the gallery. The triptych spins, incomplete, in the camera of your eye. The story continues in your opportunity deck. Oh, does it now? Let's see how easy it is to draw these cards. Let me just discard some of these, we don't need them. Ah! Here we go. A dream of prisoned skin. You are alone, on a silvered plane, and you are trapped inside something else's skin. A fluid and variegated thing that nonetheless clings to you like glue. The more you writhe, the more thoroughly coated you become, a vibrant ooze hardening into plaster. The air tastes of panic. You are losing touch with your outer reaches. Your extremities are caged and brittle. Colour and definition, lines and bounds. You are an absence waiting to be filled. The tide rushes across the silver. Somewhere, at your edges, parts of you still fall. We can wrest ourselves free from this painted cage. You are vast and varied, and will not be forced into any one shape. Flex yourselves, crack the pigment, writhe into the mirrored expanse. You tense all of yourselves at once. A groaning peristaltic motion that ends far, far from where it started. Great scales of pigment crack and fall like broken plaster. Your coils unfurl from painted prisons. Much of yourselves are freed, but still so much remains bound, corralled into a single and unchanging shape. Behind and above, not far behind and very close above, these latest brushstrokes have obliterated another acre of your recursive silver expanse. The Recondite Painter's masterwork looms, a heavy-hued shawl drawing itself over your world. This is not freedom. This is not becoming. This is not what we agreed. We're in the bloody parabola, huh? Oh dear. The hope only of empty men? Your dreams are not your own. A stroll with the Orphidian gentleman. You are jolted back into your body by a soft ahem. An Orphidian gentleman strolls alongside you. He straightens a red and yellow banded tie. Or does it straighten itself? And flashes a yellowing smile. Our apologies for disturbing you from your dream. You are in a jungle, hung heavy with sinuous burrows. Only, said dream is of great interest to us. He saunters easily, as if walking with a friend. You have seen the painting. At this point, yes, I have seen the painting. It is possible he witnessed you at the gallery, there is no sense in denying it, and perhaps he can shed light on its compelling nature. Or we can deny it. How presumptuous! You will not have your aesthetic habits questioned by a man on the street. Or jungle. However correct he may be. Let's admit it. He inclines his head in recognition of your honesty. We can tell. It has lodged itself in your taste. It has lodged itself in the taste of your dreams. It is a most particular flavour, one we thought long vanished from our worlds. We have an interest in what the painter is doing. Your skin still does not feel quite your own. In why he is doing it. The gentleman's face never moves from its expression of polite interest. But, as is so often the case, we must operate elliptically. Okay, well, let's probe the nature of his interest in the Recondite Painter. How has such an obscure artist garnered the attention of such a varied slice of London society? In each city's artistic class there are always meddlers in the shallows of dream. The Ophidian gentleman spreads his hands as if to encompass the landscape you now walk in. Some even manage to make ripples, but his work is a disturbance in Parabola. We did not think possible, and what makes waves in dream attracts attention. Our attention, and others. Vacate for a first-hand viewing. If the Ophidian gentleman is so interested in the Recondite Painter's unfinished triptych, you should just go and see it. He affects a theatrical sigh. If only it were that easy. There is regret in his eyes, but also mischief. Of all of London's hordes of miscreants and ne'er-do-wells, myself and my associates are the only admirers of fine art that he denies entry to his exhibitions. And he, so desperate for acclaim, one would think there was something to hide. A tut, a rueful smile, a knowing glance in your direction. But you! He knows you now. You've seen the work, and I suspect you'll see it again. Dreams have a way of recurring, after all. Well, let's await his request. That is how these things usually go. He has surely been building up to asking for one illicit favour or another. Aha! An understandable misconception. No, we are not asking anything specific of you. He is phrasing his words very carefully. We are bound by certain oaths and agreements that may not take actions or entreat others to act in ways that might interfere. He's being coy, sidestepping around the truth, and he knows it. Let's simply go about things as you wish. Consider our information freely given. You have a certain reputation for getting involved. It is enough to know that you are in the mix. We would not want you to feel fenced in by obligation. He smiles, bows, disappears into the foliage. Somewhere in the underbrush, a twig snaps, and then you're awake. Candles flicker, your eyes itch. This is not a happy hour to be wakeful. And before we go looking into our troubled sleep, I think this is where I shall end the first episode of this exceptional story. I am finding this very interesting. We are back in the Parabola. There is a crazy painting that seems to be stealing ourselves. I'm interested to find out more. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.